All right, well, here we go. The Talent Tank. We're coming to you from Lasertown, right here just south of Habertown. Talent Tank Podcast. We've got Ryan Thomas with us. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. In the desert, the sun is shining. The W word is not happening in Johnson Valley right now.
No, the weather today is amazing, but it's coming, so
yeah,
it's coming. And I saw you sat on that side, the left side of the seat, because you got the U4 on that side of the hat, so you finally have an ULTRA4 hat. That's pretty cool. It's new. I can still see where the stickers were. But it's just as new as you in ULTRA4. You are now the president of ULTRA4 Racing. Dave somehow conned you into coming over here and working for him, but we're going to get to that in a little bit, man. Thank you for coming on the show
absolutely.
To discuss that. I went through your background, through your bio, and I did all that on the day that I saw the press release that named this new guy who's this new guy?
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Found you on LinkedIn, found you on Facebook. I was like, wow, okay, this guy's pretty legit. And so as I started thinking about interviewing you for this, we could do 2 hours, or maybe 3, maybe 4 hours. I think we could talk and talk.
I like to talk.
I do too. But we've got 20/30 minutes I'm trying to fit in here. So we're going to do quite an abbreviated session. Family man.
Yeah. Yep.
Almost married 20 years?
September, it'll be 20 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it seems weird to be able to say that. I don't feel that old, but yeah.
So amazing woman?
She's a pretty amazing woman to put up with my antics, for sure.
And all the racing.
The racing, the traveling around the world surfing, going and chartering rickety boats in Indonesia for 10 days. She's kind of done it all. She was on Dust to Glory, actually, talking about Dust to Glory. She was part of the women's team. The original Dust to Glory.
Just before we started recording, we were talking about Mouse McCoy putting together a 1,000-mile race in Texas. That'd be so cool.
It would be special, yes.
I'd love to see a race that long. The last time there was a 1,000-mile race in the States was like 2009 Vegas to Reno.
Yeah, right.
The 3-day, the long way, but it was like a stage race because they raced
I rode passenger in that race, training a guy, and I won't ever do that again.
That was a tough course, and it was like 136 degrees. Yeah. it was pretty bad. And you guys have a 6-year-old son?
Gavin. Yeah, my wife's name is Amy, and Gavin is my son.
Well, congratulations. What's he into these days?
It's pretty interesting. He skis, he surfs, and my good friend Marty Fioca gave him a trophy cart for Christmas this year. So he now has a trophy cart as well.
Are you adopting?
A child? No.
Or an adult?
You can come hang out.
Oh, man. But you did go to work for ULTRA4, so you did effectively adopt a bunch of babies.
Yeah, right?
A bunch of us. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, but you're from a racing family.
Indeed.
You certainly had choices not to be in racing, but at the same time, you really didn't have a choice. You were in racing.
It definitely is in my blood. And I had I wouldn't say that I'm the most competitive person. Yes, racing is in my blood. Being in the desert, making dust, all of those things are part of my DNA. And I was successful when I was racing full time, for sure. A lot of what attracted me to it. Obviously driving a car fast when you're in your teens and 20, that's a big part of it. But what I learned really fast was that the cycle of prepare and then practice and then execute and then evaluate and then do it over again.
Recycle.
It's a very fulfilling, there's not a lot of things in life that you do that you get to understand exactly where you're at the end of it, especially professionally. Unfortunately, one of the only ways you can measure that is with money, and that's not necessarily the best way to gauge success. So I really liked the racing part or the cycle, that evaluation component. And then you could tweak something and try it again in 6 weeks and see how you did. And immediately. You either win or you don't, and then you get to start over again.
So you're a highly analytical dude.
You could say,
yeah,
sure. Doesn't sound like it's a fit for me, but okay.
Really? Yeah. Well, I think that you're a data cruncher. And you like to reflect on.
I like spreadsheets.
Yeah, there's those too. I was thinking from the standpoint of the emotion through the execution, the emotion there through how those highs and lows equaled how you were doing during the race.
Yeah.
And balancing that. That's where, and so you can take those data points of, oh, wow, we should have been faster through that section. What went through my head during that section?
Right.
Oh, well, we were talking about something that happened last week. We went to a movie. That's what I was talking about to my co-driver during that section.
Well, there's another component to this too. Is when I was racing most of my racing career, I drove a single seater. So there was the we was me and my other buddy. That's
even funnier.
Yeah.
So, but we've had that exact discussion with other guys in Ultra 4 about going from the single seater to the two seater.
Yeah, I was asking about that with guys. It appears that in the early years of rock crawling and rock racing, that the co-driver was an integral part of getting through the rocks. But the cars seem to have evolved to the point where the winching isn't always as necessary, and maybe the co-driver isn't as necessary either. I don't know. I mean, I'm still learning about this stuff for sure.
I have a take on that as well. I think, yes, I think the cars have absolutely gotten much faster in the rocks. I think the drivers and the skills have gotten much faster in the rocks. But I also think here at the Hammers, we've ran the same trails so much,
I've wondered
so often.
about that, yeah.
And it's just not during the race. It's also during non-race weekends all year. There's 51 other weekends during the year. And then they're getting traffic and they're getting beat down and they're getting rocked. But Mother Nature has a way of changing that on a whim. A year ago, I remember seeing backdoor was only about 5 feet deep, and now it's back to all that sand is redug out. So Mother Nature has a way of continuing to change the course,
keeping us honest.
That's right. And the other way that Ultra 4 is keeping and Hammer King is keeping the drivers in the race honest is continue to change up the course and continue to add stuff. So you guys added 4 new trails, and they're getting a lot of traction. I haven't heard anything but people not saying good things about them, but only in the sense that it's been hard on them. But the challenge, they're rising to the occasion of the challenge.
Yeah. I think that early on, it was either with JT or Dave. I asked about what's our target attrition rate, and I don't quote me on this, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. But I think either Dave or JT said, "Hey, if the only person that finishes is the winner, I'm good with that."
I've heard Dave say when he was referring to UTV racers a while ago when UTVs were being added to the schedule that. And I got this quote actually today from my cameraman today, Caleb Norman over here. Caleb said that Dave actually said he'd be okay if none finished, like none. And Dave said that I think about even before they were 4,400 cars when they were just when we were just 4-wheel drive guys, unlimited 4-wheel drive guys.
In the world of participation trophies and snowflakes.
It's a fresh breath of air, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm all for having it be. I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to participate, but let's make it hard. I mean, I think.
Well, we're totally not following my interview at all. But we're running down this path because I think 3 things happen on race day when the green flag drops. I think that there is the race between competitors. I think there's a race between the race driver. The driver and
himself.
Yeah. I actually put that as the third spot.
And herself.
And versus Mother Nature and the terrain. So you have versus competitor, versus terrain, and then versus self.
Yeah.
And the reflection on that and the overcoming that adversity. You can't change the competition. You can't change what Mother Nature is throwing at you. This isn't NASCAR. It's not circles and going left. This is boulders and miles and miles and miles. And so that really puts the piece of the puzzle is that driver portion that's in your head.
Yeah.
And how you handle what's being thrown at you, that adversity, and are you prepared for that adversity? Because 80% of the field at some point this week during their race, they are going to throw in their towel. It's not I think my right words for that is it's not a symbol of weakness to quit. Because there will be, at some point, you will quit this race. 80% of this race, you will quit for one reason or another.
That's a statistic I haven't heard, and I'm surprised to hear that when I look around and see the type of individual that's out here in the desert right now.
Well, I'm not saying that you're quitting because you're weak of mind. You're quitting for some reason. You timed out. You had some adversity with a car. You for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying here to go be like,
this got hard.
This got hard. They're going to come to a point where there's a problem that they won't be able to solve to continue forward.
Understood.
Yeah. Oh no, this isn't fair weather racing.
No.
This is fair weather racing. I mean, you should be, I don't know, at the go-kart track. That's for the Dime Tour. That's my take that there's going to be, you're going to have to quit. You're going to have to come to terms with that you're going to have to quit. And so and I think there's guys out there that are much better trained at overcoming adversity.
Yeah, I mean, you sit in the driver's meeting this morning and just look at guys' fingernails. Majority of them have got dirt and grease underneath their fingernails. And
that's another part that I think I fully have seen and reflected on. The guys that are the most successful that we have seen over years and years and years of competition are the ones that are doing all their own prep.
Oh, I have a strong opinion about that. Yeah, I mean, I grew up. There's a lot of people that think that because of my background, I just got handed a race car and told I could go drive, but I was the one that had to take it apart and put it back together every race. And guys like Rob McCachran, I mean, Rob McCachran spent years.
He knows his car.
Yeah, no, he knows it. He built them. He took them apart. He put them back together. And I can tell you that when you are, when you hear a sound, you smell a smell, you see something out of the corner of your eye because you've touched every nut and bolt on that car and are intimate with it, you recognize when you're hurting it. You recognize when it is hurting. Yeah, there's no question.
I always love seeing on social media pictures of like Robbie Gordon underneath his truck.
Yeah,
doing a training swap.
Love him, hate him. Robbie is very much in tune with the technical and mechanical side of the things that he does.
And there's guys
almost to his
detriment.
Yeah, love you, Robbie.
I hope he listens to this. Much discussion. Yeah, I think you're spot on there. It's the guys that, again, they're hands-on.
Yeah.
And if you're hands-on, you're going to know the car. And then when you do have the problem, you can quickly triage.
And that's not to say that the guys that can't be successful, because there's those examples as well. But I think that the ones that are more well-rounded like that typically tend to do better.
Yeah, it's not NASCAR. When
we can go down that road too, for sure.
You can't you can pull into a pit. Like if you happen to brake and the pit's right there and you can get there, yeah, sure, absolutely. But what are the odds? Especially in this race, a no chase race, if you brake on Wrecking Ball or you brake on Outer Limits or if you brake on Spooners, you're a long ways from your pits and getting outside help.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's, as we talked about, I got to spend quite a bit of time back in the early 2000s with quite a few IndyCar drivers and other racers from other disciplines with business that I used to be a part of, Wide Open Adventures. And no question that guys like Sebastian Bourdais and Bordeaux, I can't remember, Oriol Servia, Michel Jourdain, those guys are amazing race car drivers, but you put them in the dirt in an environment where the what's around the next corner is not predictable.
Is unknown.
It took them a while. They did very well, but it took them a while to realize that turn 2 is not always, your braking point at turn 2 is not always the same, and turn 2 might actually be turn 6.
Well, and it's reading terrain.
Well, yeah.
And if you're a pavement driver, you can read maybe the angle of the turn, where the apex of that turn is, but you don't necessarily know how to read a G out.
And I think eventually those guys figure it out because they're like I said, very skilled drivers, but it's that transition. So I think that the pinnacle of it is motorcycle riders that ride in the dirt. The consequences for not reading the terrain are obviously much more severe than in a car with a roll cage and harnesses. But then that extrapolates out on through. That's Jimmy Johnson. You talk to Jimmy, and a lot of what made him as good as he is on the pavement is
how he was in the dirt
because he had
in
dirt
early
experience.
years.
Yeah, Rick Mears, Roger Mears, all those guys.
Oh, Robbie Gordon.
Well, yeah.
He had his 4AA and
all of them.
Yeah. But you've worked with some amazing guys over the years. You worked with Bob Gordon.
Yeah, Bob drove our cars, so yes, definitely was involved with a lot of the early, mostly buggy guys back then. But yeah, the Gordons, the McMillans, the Baldwins, the Deans, the Herps, kind of the who's who in motorsports back then. Off-road motorsports were driving Chenowth cars, yes.
And those guys are most of those names you named are still in it.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Not necessarily in Chenowth, but yeah, they're still racing, or their descendants, their children, or their next gen 2 or Gen 3.
Gen 3, yeah.
Yeah, like in
Dan and Andy and Luke. Yep,
that's right. And those guys are coming on. We're getting Dan and Luke are coming on Wednesday, so I'm really excited to sit down with them. That's
they're going to come on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, bitchin'.
Yeah, they're going to be out here. I'm so excited about that because it's this whole genre. I mean, who would have thought 2 years ago we'd have trophy trucks running at Hammers? Just
T1 trucks.
You're right. Absolutely correct. T1 trucks on Thursdays. Amazing. How amazing is that? That we wouldn't have said that 2 years ago, but then, last year it's like, oh my gosh, like breaking the internet. Awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. It's almost ironic today. So last year I was in my office at Jackson when the T1 race was happening, and I was completely unproductive that day at work, and I posted an Instagram picture. I took a screenshot or a picture of my screens on my desk, and then I wrote, with the little pen thing you can do on Instagram, breaking news, off-road industry, worst day of productivity ever. Thanks, Dave Cole, or something like that. And
it was so spot on.
Yeah, and I was blown away by what I got to see sitting in my office, wishing that I was out here.
Well, the live feed is amazing. It's absolutely bar none unparalleled. We're in the middle of nowhere. Don't even have cell phone signal, but somehow we can, we had Dan Campbell on already today, and Dan talked about how far they were beaming and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I found myself at work as well cheering like no other for Jesse James. I felt like that was the coolest thing to see him come out of retirement, dust off the guys, or come out here, and this is a race of attrition. The Hammers, Johnson Valley is hard on race cars, and he just kept chugging along, and he ate up. Well, what was the final finished car count? It was fairly low.
It was low, very low.
And Jesse chugged through. He outlasted everybody, aside from just a couple on the podium. But there he was.
Right.
He's the what is the right word? He was the little engine that could.
Right.
And he's not a little engine.
No, by no means.
He's an awesome guy. I can't wait to see Jesse out here. He'll be out here for this week as well. The $1 million question: how did Dave convince you to come head up ULTRA4 Racing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We had been. It's funny how as you get older, your spheres of influence, or the people that you're around, they start to get they get bigger, which means that they overlap more, and it just seemed that our paths were crossing more often than not. So we kind of got to know each other, and we were talking about working together, but with two separate entities. With ULTRA4 and the company I was working for at the time, Jackson, and I mean, all of it is good. There was no animosity by any means between my past employer and Dave. It just became more evident that the things that Dave was looking for were things that I could help with. And when I got the phone call from him, it wasn't something that I was anticipating or even contemplating. And in all honesty, I was at Camp Razor doing some work for VF Goodrich in Jackson, and it hit me out of left field. I'm like, dude, Dave, I'm like right in the middle of this. I hope you don't expect an answer right now because I got a job to do. But the more I thought about it and realized that ironically my life has been made up of I've spent a lot of time with visionaries that see things that other people don't see, and even my dad. My dad was not the founder of Chenowth Racing Products. Lynn Chenowth was. Lynn Chenowth was a visionary, and the guy was still alive and an amazing individual who sees things that other humans don't see. And lots of times people like that are operating so far ahead of everybody else that it appears as if there needs to be people that are I don't know what the word is. I used to describe my relationship with the founder of Wide Open that he saw this beautiful brick building in his head, and he was running as fast as he can, finding bricks, throwing them up in the air, and I could understand what he saw, so I was catching the bricks and building the building that he saw. So I realized that there was an opportunity to be a part of something that is amazing, and it was there's, to me, the risk for making that change was not probably what everybody thinks. And I asked the question to Dave the other evening. We'd gone out to Spooners, which was I was de-virginized on Spooners.
Indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's probably the more appropriate way to say it.
Well, as long as you weren't like Little Spoon. I mean,
yes, I heard the story about the name, but we were out there with the guys from Tribe, I think.
Yeah.
And
guys.
yeah, I mean, and I've been really very fortunate over the last couple of weeks living out here and spending time with Camo and lots of the other pioneers that.
Yeah, you've been here since like the 10th,
January 10th.
there?
Yeah.
Oh, January 10th. Yeah, it's weeks now.
But I'm enough a part of the early part of desert racing because of my background with ultimately a lot of the pioneers of the industry and the sport, that I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't have that in this environment. And I asked Dave, we were standing on a rock looking down into Spooners and realizing that the guys down there that were with us, I mean, they're the badasses of this culture. All of these people are. And I said to him, hey, has there been any, are people giving you crap for hiring an outsider to come in here and help lead this thing? And I honestly meant that because I recognize that it's, I'm not a part of that core group. And I have a healthy respect for what that means. Fortunately, he said no. I don't know if there's listeners out there that'll have a different opinion, but
I don't believe so. At least I haven't heard him.
Yeah. So I have a healthy respect for the beginning of all of this, and you said the word indoctrination. I mean, the people that I'd been meeting, and I mean, we were over in Apple Valley. Was it Chris? I'm gonna screw it up.
Chris Ridgway.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we were going. Actually, we'd gone
on the same wavelength as you, man.
Yeah,
we're doing good.
I mean, just on a whim, he's like, "Hey, doesn't Chris Ridgway live? Yeah, let's go see him." And we pull in. I mean, his family's there, and Dave calls him up. We're coming to say hi, and I mean, I understand all of this stuff. I may not have been a part of it, but I get the emotion and
the gravity of the situation.
Gravity
is
a
not
great
lost on
word.
you.
Yeah. Oh, you just gave me goosebumps. Look at that. So it's an honor. I mean, really, it is to be accepted the way that I've been up to this point. It's an honor, and I want to make it clear. Dave's not going anywhere, and there is absolutely no way in hell that there's no way in hell that any one person can replace Dave.
No, there needs to be about 10.
Yeah.
And that's how it. No, you are absolutely correct. Dave's not going anywhere, but I think it's really cool to see Hammers has got to a point, and that Dave has self-reflected enough to know he can't juggle. He can't continue to juggle 10 balls, and he keeps adding every year. He adds another 1 or 2 or 3, and he's trying to keep them off the ground. And things ultimately get dropped, and that's not a knock on Dave at all. It's the furthest thing from it. He's a big idea guy, and he needs those guys running out in front of him, throwing
catching
the bricks. Catching bricks, yeah. And it's been really cool to be a part of ULTRA4 for the last decade, and I welcome you to the community, like open arms. And my thought on being positive about that is you can't continue to go to the well getting water and then expect beer. And so sometimes you got to go to a different well.
Yeah.
And that's what we needed. I think that's what Dave needed. I think he's known. He's, again, smart guy, intelligent guy, smart guy. He's always looking forward, big idea guy. And he knew for me to take this baby of 80,000 people that are out here on the lake bed this week and take it to the next level, he needs a fresh look. Somebody's
interesting to hear you say 80 because I came out for the first time in 2015 and the number was being estimated somewhere between 40 to 50. And then I've heard the number 60 to 70 thrown around, but you're the first person that said 80. And before you respond to that, the only reason caught me is I know that there's a solid push within the organization that we do not want to overstate things when it comes to numbers and statistics. So I'm not calling you out on that. I guess what I'm thinking is today is Saturday, and when I came in 2015 for the first time, I think we are bigger, and this is approximation.
I came in this morning, and the RVs are all the way out, almost to. They're already starting at the turn to Dave's address up there to Dave's shop. The RV's already full on both sides, and now I don't. That number
could very well be 80. I guess was my point, but
I don't have satellites linking up in space and like checking a head count down here, but I wouldn't be shocked at that number when someone said it. Now, what's the true number? Maybe we've just all been inflating it. It's truly only 25,000, but I think that's no way. I think they're already here. And then again, this is Saturday. Wait until Wednesday when everyone starts showing up for T1s and the T1 teams show up. Well, I guess you're going to have a little bit of offsetting because some UTV guys will have left.
Yeah, but the other part about that, and this a huge part of, again, what I was attracted to is that this is recreation. It's not just the motorsport side of it. People come out here and do this for fun. People do the same thing in Baja, I'm sure some of the UTV teams will leave, but a lot of them are just going to hang out because they love it out here.
That's right. They're part of the community. It's part of it. And some of them are game planning what their next move is. Are they going to move up? Are they going to move down? Are they going to stay? Well, there's guys that are making really good livings professionally UTV racing.
Yeah. No, I was talking to some of the head people at Can-Am this afternoon, and the vision for a company like Can-Am and where things are going. There's definitely, I wouldn't, I heard you say move up, and if I was trying to make a living driving off-road race cars today, I would be all about a UTV.
Oh, they're big names like Blurton, like Guthrie's.
Oh, man, the field that we have for this race tomorrow is going to be insane. I'm real excited to get back into town and find out how the qualifying is going and who's on top.
Well, that said, before I do get you out of here, this is your first year. We're kind of talking about it a little bit. But what are your off-the-cuff thoughts on where we're at this early in the week, your first year being in management? What do you think? As expected?
Well, yeah. I had the experience of being here in 15 and 17. What should have been obvious and just really kind of has floored me is both times when I came out here. And I think anytime you go to an event, like as a spectator or a participant, you show up and stuff's just here. You don't visualize what goes into creating all of that. So that part of the indoctrination has been very helpful to kind of see it emerge out of the desert. As far as how it's going so far.
Before I let you continue, when was the last time you had a hot shower?
Last night. Actually, this morning.
Oh, dang.
But I will say that so I brought my own motorhome, and it's a 1986 Hawkins motor coach, so I'm a member of the Vintage Motorhome Association. We travel in packs because we have to. My hot water heater blew out of it a week and a half ago, so I did go for about a week and a half with no shower. And when Dave found that out, I thought it was like a badge of honor. He's like, dude, get it fixed. Come on, you got to take a shower. But yeah, so I had a shower this morning. But my ankles were filling up in water because I hadn't been pumped, so my drain water was full.
I saw that. That's the most important guy in Hammertown. It's not Dave Cole. It's the guy driving the honeypot.
So yeah, as far as comparing it to years past or where we are right now, that's been a question that I've been asking every one of the staff that I'm in touch with. How's it going? How does this seem compared to years prior? And it appears as if the progress made building Hammertown. There were some warnings a weekend, like, hey, it seems like we're ahead of schedule. Don't let that, lull us into a false sense of security that we got more time. But I think things are going well. We had basically the first competitive component here this morning, and so we shifted from the building of Hammertown to then operating the race. It appeared as if the live feed got up and running. I got to be a part. I was up on Fisher's a week and a half ago, aiming microwave towers. So from my perspective, it appears things are going well. I know that there's a lot of variables out here, and weather being one of them. So I think all of us are prepared for whatever might happen.
Well, I'm really, really happy to hear you say that, to basically leverage our discussion about prepping your own race car and knowing what goes into it and what nuts go where and what bolts go where and like what noises make. The fact you were up on Fissure with, I'm assuming with Travis Walter, aiming microwaves, that you are getting into the bowels of the beast.
Yeah.
And knowing what goes where.
You can't fake leadership without having been involved. I mean, don't take this the wrong way. If it would take 10 people to replace Dave, it would take a university to replace Travis. But yeah, I need to get my arms around all of it, you know. And
it's baby steps. And the whole community is actually here wanting you to be successful and praying you're successful, because if you're successful, we're successful.
Right. And that's again, I understand the gravity of what's going on here, because there's an industry that's being created out of all of this, not to mention a lifestyle and a culture and all the rest of those things. And I don't take that responsibility lightly.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm super pumped to have you as part of the community. I'm super pumped to have you helping contribute to making stories and helping these guys make stories and make history and move the ball on that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Well, Ryan, welcome to the club. Thank you for coming on the Talent Tank today. I appreciate it, and it's really good to meet you. I've heard you. Thanks.
Likewise.
Appreciate it. All right, man. Good luck this week.
Thank you.